My name is Guy Turner. I'm a partner with Hyde Venture Partners here in Chicago. So we invest in early stage startups throughout the Midwest. We are usually the first institutional capital that an entrepreneur will look for. So often around between $1 and $7 million. And we really invest throughout the Midwest and also up in Toronto. So we're very early stage investors. So, we're looking at companies between $0 and $1 million of revenue typically. And so it's very hard to differentiate between the founding team themselves and the company. And in the end, really the company is that founding team, a combination of their expertise, the opportunity that they see that in the market, and their ability to go after it really quickly. And so when you boil it down, it's kind of 90% the people. And so we tend to look for teams with really deep domain expertise. They don't have to be experienced in the market. It's certainly great if they are, but they are not always. And in several of our best companies were started by first-time teams. The biggest challenge that I've experienced as an investor, it comes from my original background as an engineer. So both through school and an early career as an engineer, you're so focused on numbers and analysis, and that's the common language that you speak. And many people know engineers, and we aren't always the people who have the best interpersonal skills. And you're able to get away with that because there is this common language of math and analytics. And I think when I became an investor, I leaned on that very heavily, the math and the analytics, and was lacking on my ability to understand people, to read people, to predict where people will be effective and where they won't be effective. And that's been a long journey to improve that skill of mine. The question is, how do you get better at finding great people, predicting when people will be able to be effective and when they won't? What I would say is that when I was a very early investor, I think that there's this mystique around the really young, college dropout or right out of undergrad rebel who has this big idea and is going to go take it down and be wildly successful, because that's what the news points to. It's Zuckerberg and once upon a time Bill Gates and all these people. But the reality is most really successful entrepreneurs have deep domain expertise. And so the way that we've found to be the most predictive of whether someone's going to be successful as a founder really comes down to three things. And the first is that deep domain expertise. The second is their constant proof points of getting things done. And we meet with entrepreneurs over a long period of time, 3, 6, 9 months often before we invest. And we're able to see every time we meet with them is something new happening. And so, really in a way, it's being able to extract some data points out of the more qualitative behavior that we see among the people that we end up backing. There's a whole bunch of key indicators in a strong business culture, but I think the two most important ones, at least in my business, the two things that matter the absolute most are truth, transparency, if you will, which I'll come back to. And then the second one is just absolutely insane tenacity. And so truth and transparency, I actually took it for granted, but one of the things when I was talking to our vice president and I was asking her a little bit, what is your take on our culture? And she said that what hit me the most when I started at Hyde Park Venture Partners was that everyone is always honest. And meaning that people aren't politicking their answers, people aren't holding things back. And that's really, really important because we're constantly making decisions about new investments, putting more money into existing investments. And if we're not honest about the truth, we'll make bad investments. And then with respect to tenacity, in a small partnership, we have to believe that anytime you pass a baton, the person who takes it is going to run with it.